In today's video, I'm going to teach you how to make a cute needle felted unicorn. Hey everyone, I'm your fiber artist host Jody, and welcome to my channel. Here I share needle felting videos from tool tests and reviews to needle felting tutorials like this one, and have giveaways from time to time. So if you're new, please consider subscribing. And if there's anything you see here on this channel that you want to know more about, be sure and check the links in the description below this video, or leave me a comment. I would love to connect with you down there in the comments. Now let's get into this felting tutorial. I'm going to start with showing you my setup here and everything I will be using today. Obviously I have my wool batting and my colors of choices for the unicorn. More white because that's going to be the most color that it will be, and then some bone to use as a filler for the body. I have my needle felting tool here, a tape measure so I know how big I'm making it, some thread to sew on these beads that are here, and also a little sewing needle, my scissors, and my foam mats. If you've been watching, you know that I like to use the one for the bone color, and then I'll pull this out when I'm doing specific colors, which I actually might not use this one today. But either way, I'll be using a mat to be protecting my surface and my needles. And again, you guys, I'll have all this stuff linked for you below in the description. To start, I'm gonna get out my needle felting needle, and I'm going to use this loose bone wool here and start to form a horse's head a little bit. And then I want to use some of it for the neck and body, and then just continue to pierce the wool and shape it. Kind of look like a little unicorn there, the start of one. I want to make the nose more pointed than the top of the head. A little bit more wool around the neck, because they do have very long, broad necks. I know it's not looking like much, but I promise you, keep shaping and you will get there. But surely getting there. I can obviously tell I'm gonna need a lot more wool for the body. I'm still just working on getting this head shaped correctly and the neck coming off of it. Okay, so the head is getting pretty firm and pretty well shaped like a horse, as you can see. I can add wool later on when I'm covering this in the white. So now you're going to want to use this extra loose wool to attach more of your bone colored wool to make your unicorn's body. Right now the head measures about 1.5 inches in length and 3/4 of an inch at the top, and under 1/2 inch. From top of neck, I'm hoping it will be about 1 inch or 2, and then the body will be about 3 in length. So when you're shaping the body, think broad shoulders, a little bit of a belly, and a stronger hind rump. As you worked on shaping the head, just work on shaping the body now. to to make the shoulders a little bit more broader on each side. Sure, while you're shaping, if you're needing to add any wool to make the areas more defined and start to make the body the right proportion to the head, that you do that. As you can see, I've added yet another layer, and I'm still working on getting this layer a little felted down. But this looks much better proportion for the head and the body bulkness. So once your horse has kind of come to the shape that you would like it, you can put it aside and work on making the legs for it. So your horse, your unicorn here, you're gonna want to leave some wool extra to be able to attach the leg on. And then the top of the leg is going to be a little more narrow than obviously the foot or the hoof. Kind of roll it and round it off, and then felt up the leg some. Fray out here what I'm going to want to use to attach. There you can kind of get an idea of what one of them will look like. And it's going to be about an inch, inch and a half, pushing 2. So then you're just gonna keep rolling it and get it all nice and felted and ready to attach, but remember to keep a bit of loose wool to attach it with. Then before I get too far into my project, I kind of like to pick out the amount of wool I'm going to use for each leg, because if you do that, then you can hopefully not struggle as you make each one following that in size. For some reason, filling the wool all loose for me works best. Just kind of in judgment here of how much I'll need. So I'm gonna set each one of those aside, because you definitely do not want your unicorn to have lopsided legs. And here at the base, you're gonna wanna try and make a flat surface. Don't felt too much at an angle to where you stab yourself. As you can see, that's kind of formulating into a nice hoof. The front should have a little bit of angle and lead up, but the back of the hoof can be pretty straight. There you see, it's kind of starting to take shape. All right, you can even check and see how it is coming along. And so at this point, you can tell if you're gonna wanna try and make it longer or shorter, or if you're right on. Quick little reminder here as you start your second leg to be sure and put that extra wool at the bottom for the hoof and keep your little extra pinch for the top. Show you a little bit here now that we have a couple of them made. Okay, I know the legs look a little bit long right now, but once they get on, they're not gonna look that long. I'm just having trouble holding it. All right, now that you have your fourth leg finished, before we attach it onto the unicorn body, we are going to cover it in the white, because I can tell you that when you're covering it and rolling it, it is going to be a lot easier to get this roll and have movement, whereas once it's attached, and if you're trying to still cover it in white, it can be really hard just constantly having to move the legs around. So add your white on your leg while the legs are still mobile from the body. You can see here, this is brighter white than this, so I'm going to turn my foam pad around and work here in my white area on my foam pad. Because if I try felting my white on in this color area, it will pick these fibers back up and start putting them on top of the white. I want to be felting in an area where there is only white. Now that all of your legs are covered in the white wool, it's time to attach them, and you can just kind of pick where and how you want your leg attached on your unicorn. I'm gonna spread this top amount of wool apart as much as possible so that way it will lay nice and flat and have a broad area for attachment. And I'm just going to pierce the wool to get it attached. I think I actually want it a little bit higher. Like so. You don't have to felt this a ton because you're going to put white wool on top here as soon as we get the rest of the legs attached. Just like that, all the legs are on. So next, as I was saying, we're going to cover it completely in the white wool now. So now that I have them almost completely covered in the white, where you can see it attaches here, I want to make this a little softer, so I'm going to be putting an extra patch of wool on the top here to help that look like it is nice and smooth and all one piece. Sorry I did not show you this pin in the beginning of this video. If you haven't seen one before, it's a needle felting pin, and it's got the three needles on the end of it, and I also have this tool linked below as well. However, this tool is going to help me get the wool felted onto the unicorn a lot faster. It allows you to cover a little area a little bit faster. Sometimes when you use the needle felting pin like that, it can kind of start to give your object the wrong shape. I'm gonna come back in and fine tune that shape. All right, now that your unicorn is mostly covered in the white, it is time to take some of your gray wool and give him his hooves. The important part here when you're adding on your gray wool onto the hoof is to keep it in a straight line as you go around. And if you feel like this is gonna be too difficult, you could do this while your foot is still off. I just kind of wait till this point to make sure that I know how long the leg is going to be and everything is kind of attached in good. So I don't have to try and reverse putting the gray on. When you're putting the wool around it, you can even kind of just wrap, and that will help you keep the fibers straight. All right, so now that you have all four covered, this is a good opportunity to go and trim any of the excess fibers that are kind of loose on your project. Next, if you have some black wool, you can give your unicorn the eyes and mouth. Putting the mouth on, be careful to not give your unicorn too straight of a mouth, or it will look very serious. You want your unicorn to be happy. And then you can take 2 more little black pieces for the nostrils. Now for the ears, grab some more white and try to just felt 2 little triangles. Flip it back and forth, keeping a little bit extra to pinch and hold on to. Little ears just under a 1/2 inch in length. Before I attach it, I'm gonna make my second ear just to make sure they match. Right, now you can attach the ears from the top to the side. All right, now for the mane. I'm gonna do some pink, and I'm just going to twist and kind of roll the ends a little bit. I want to keep it fluffy. I'm not gonna felt the mane too much. I want purple, blue. You can roll it like this between your hands. Start with pink, and then I do kind of want to twist the colors together. So I'm gonna hold each end and pinch them. Pick the point here to add the tail on. Just keep twisting the tail around the front and take the ends. And then felt them into the leg. Want a little more pink coming off the end down here. I'm gonna just tuck that end and around like that. Now for the mane. We're gonna use half the amount of wool we did there, but the same concept. All the ends together. And at the top, behind the back of the ears, you're going to want to felt that in right there. That is funny and looks kind of cool. Next, you'll take your pink end and then kind of just felt like that. Purple. And then you need a hint of pink for the front mane. We'll attach that on the top as well. And then you can kind of twist and pull it to the one side of the ear between the eye and ear. All right, next let's put a little heart right down here. Use some pink. Shape it up like a V into a heart already. If you are just wanting to have a unicorn with the unicorn and the beads on it, go ahead and skip this next part. But since I want to put wings on my unicorn, I'm gonna go ahead and teach you how to make the wings for it. Gonna take just a little bit of the white. You don't need a lot, and you're gonna want it pretty smooth and flat to start. And kind of triangular shaped. Then you're just going to go and felt this piece of wool into what looks kind of like a wing. So you'll have kind of a top arched here and kind of a bottom arch. Going to flip it and do this side as well. If you have a needle felting pin, this is a great place to use it a little bit to help speed the process up. I can see I kind of have a hole right here, so I'm gonna add a little wool to there. So the wing at this point measures about 3 inches, but as you can see, that's still a little bit big. I will end up trimming this wing down. I just wanted to make sure that I have enough wool that it's not too thin and wanting to break apart like that. So just keep felting your wing down until it is nice and solid, but also try to keep it as thin as possible. All right, so before I do anything more to that wing, I'm gonna go ahead and create the other wing. You can see it even ended up felting down to a pretty decent size. I won't have to trim too much off of it. And if you put it on top, that can even help you shape this one. Just be careful not to felt them together when you're doing this, or to break your needle going at too much of an angle. All right, so once you have your other wing finished, you can go ahead and get ready to cut them. I'm gonna hold one up here, and I'm just going to do one of these first. To make your wings look a little bit like feathers. So take some loose pieces of your white wool and you're just going to rub it between your fingers to kind of felt it a little bit. You're going to want to make a handful of these and varied in size. All right, now I'm gonna cut off the excess end of the wing and cut it open like so. Now you are ready to attach it. Just felt that tip right into the top center of the back. Okay, so this part is so super simple. You're just gonna thread your thread through your needle. You can see here that I have 3 white, 2 purple, 2 green, 2 gold, 2 orange, 2 red. And I'm just gonna put the 3 together and then on each side try to arch each one and make it look like a rainbow. I'm going to sew the beads on right here in this area in arch form. little bit of loose wool and put that on top of where you've tucked your thread in so you don't see any bit of your thread. Just be careful when you're doing this that you don't accidentally poke your needle into the bead and break your needle. Then just repeat the process on this side with attaching your beads. Alright, so once you have your beads sewn on each side of your unicorn, it's time to make the unicorn. So I'm going to use my colored foam board to move the last of the sewing stuff aside, and got yellow and orange. I'm going to use just a hint of orange here to create a cone. Roll it between my fingers really well. Even kind of start to develop a point at one end. Leave a hair loose to be able to attach it in at the base. Take your felting needle and just start making this unicorn as solid as possible. I'm going to take a little bit of yellow, then I'm going to roll this super thin between my hands, even roll it a bit like this. Then I'm going to wrap this yellow around the orange all the way to the point. Try and hold it. You can see the yellow lines there. Just going to try and keep them in place so when I let go, they don't move on me. Your scissors and trim the extra fibers. A little more hair than I need for attaching, so I'm going to trim that off. It is time to put it on. Just center like so. I'm going to pinch each side of the head and stab directly in so I don't accidentally poke myself here. Alright, and that is it. You should have been able to complete a unicorn yourself now. Look at that. And that's it for today's video, you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to leave me a comment with what you think I should create next, because I might just create it. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye! Look who found his way to my stuff. Oh no. Push the kitchen chair in here. You're knocking all my stuff down. Hey, no. No. No.